I think I didn't have a culture shock. We also grew up very close to nature. So when you go on the up north from Karachi.
I was just going to say, what nature?
I know. People in Pakistan really, truly, genuinely are a nation that has an open door to anyone, I would say. They told me that the feedback from the families and from the close environment was very tough for them. Sometimes it happens that I sort of have to reclaim my space.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. How are you all? I'm Tanya Abbasi and this is Let's Be Real, a show about real people, real issues and generally all the things that we avoid talking about. We're going to talk about it on this show. Today we have someone super exciting on our show. Well, technically she's not Pakistani, but I think once she came to Karachi, she fell in love. She's a founder, she's a co-founder, she's a podcaster, and overall she's a powerhouse. Welcome to the show, Vladimira. I hope I got that right, the pronunciation?
You actually did.
Okay, amazing. How many people pronounce it correctly?
Oh, I think the easier question is how many people did not. But no, it's been, a pleasure also sort of to try to embed the name into Pakistan.
Yeah.
It became a brand on its own, trust me.
And what about your second name?
So my second name is Briestenska, which a lot of people...
I skipped it, by the way.
A lot of people don't try to even sort of venture in that way, but it's a beautiful Slavic name.
First name and your second name both are really beautiful. What did they mean?
Vladimira means to rule in the sort of name of a piece, sort of a thing. And Briestenska, it's sort of linked to a tree that sort of grows in Slovakia. So both beautiful, nature and some ruling. So all good.
Love it. And why, how did Vlad end up in Karachi? What's the story?
Yeah.
Was it a person who brought you here?
It actually was.
Yeah.
It actually was. It was a person, but I think it was the right circumstances around that sort of phase of my life. But the person who was the catalyst was my current business partner and also my husband.
Life partner.
My life partner.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, it's a long story. It's about 7 years back, which is hard to believe that it's been so long living in Pakistan.
Where did you meet?
We met originally in Slovakia. In the capital, in Bratislava. But I think our story started in a very small shop which sells chips, literally as simple as that. And I think that's where we felt that there is much more and that there is a strong friendship. But from there, it's been a very curvy and long path to today also having a daughter together and a business. And
then you named your startup Neem as well.
So I started the business with two co-founders. So my sort of husband, who's called Neem, and also another partner who's called Neem.
Did you start this before you got married or after?
Wow, that's a good question. No, we started it before, and we got married on the way of growing the business.
In the process.
process,
okay.
Yes.
Lovely.
I think we understood many more layers.
How has the whole experience been? I think from moving from that part of the world to this part of the world.
So I originally come from Slovakia, which is a small country of 5 million people in Central Eastern Europe. I think I didn't have a culture shock. It was closer in terms of the values on which sort of Pakistani people sort of live and base their life on. Is quite similar to how I was sort of raised and how I grew up. We also grew up very close to nature. So when you go on the up north from Karachi.
I was just going to say, what nature?
I know. But you get the sea over here, which we don't have. But we have the beautiful sort of rivers and we have mountains. And it's something that I really, really adore and embrace here in Pakistan. But I think the one thing that really sort of stood out here for me, which maybe could be classified as a culture shock, was that people in Pakistan really, truly, genuinely are a nation that has an open door to anyone, I would say. They're very kind and generous, and that sort of notion of anyone can come for a visit at any time and they have a place there and they will have a dinner, they won't go sort of hungry, outside or back home. That was something new to me. I think back in Slovakia, not that we are rude people or not generous, but we are, I would say, much more closer into your own unit as a small family. So that has been really positive culture shock, I would say. It's something that I really genuinely like, and I'm trying to bring that back to Europe whenever I go back.
How was it to set up that entire business here, like in Pakistan, in Karachi?
It's an adventure, for sure. But
that's a nice way to put it.
But it really is, and I think it's about the mindset and how you look at it, right? I mean, you could wake up every morning and sort of think about all the pains you're going to go through, or you have the other mindset, which is like, we are trying to do something real in here, in the name of the show, maybe. But You are. I mean, you are impacting lives of millions, which is very different of doing something in you are in London where I was before, and you are doing an incremental change for someone's lifestyle. And then you come to a country like Pakistan where some of the very basic needs are not covered, or the opportunities are, someone has just not built a business there.
Yeah.
And suddenly, you start sort of impacting millions. And that's one of the things that allows you to sort of go through the painful parts in a much more easier way and fresher way.
Was there ever a time where you thought, I can't do this, I'm going back, I'm done?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Of course, there are moments, but I think that applies to sort of building a business, and being a founder and entrepreneur is generally hard.
It is.
Frankly, it's a life path that comes with lots of pressure, lots of loneliness. I think the fact that I have 2 other co-founders has been sort of a blessing, and I'm very grateful for it. But the journey itself already is not easy. Sometimes we ask, but not too often. I think it's the reason why we started Neem and why we are here in Pakistan.
The purpose, basically.
The purpose.
Yeah. The purpose is actually what drives us forward, right?
Yeah.
I see you talk a lot about that as well, right? Mental health and stress as a co-founder.
We do, especially in relationship to the entrepreneurs and to this sort of career, I guess.
How did you go into that?
I used to work with lots of entrepreneurs for about, I think, 5 to 10 years. And I've seen a lot of them, like you said, burned out. I've seen relationship being impacted. I saw businesses crashing. And a lot of that was related because they were unable to take proper care of themselves as founders, as leaders. And then it started impacting their other parts of life. So I started looking into who is doing something about this.
There's no one doing anything.
And we realized, exactly what you're saying, is that very little.
Yeah.
So we started raising some awareness, from which our podcast called Naked was born.
Yes, yes. I've seen some. I think it's really good work. And did you get a good response?
We did. It's interesting that some of the founders, and I'll maybe share, so we had 2 Pakistani founders on it so far. Otherwise, it's entrepreneurs from around the world. When I talked to the 2 Pakistani founders, both of them were women. They were super brave, very raw, brave, told the real stuff. They told me that the feedback from the families and from the close environment was very tough for them, because people somehow, I guess, they questioned why they had the need to open up and speak about some of those sort of more stigmatized topics. But I was very happy that they sort of went full in and they didn't sort of held back. It was beautiful conversations, very raw.
Yeah, so I think you're talking about women in leadership roles generally. Things are changing now. Yes, of course, the taboo is kind of going away, and the society is generally more accepting of women leading and doing work. Did you see the same thing back home, or is this something that you thought you saw here and you were very surprised to see?
No, I wasn't surprised. I've seen this in other markets, whether that was Slovakia. I actually started my professional career in diplomacy, in foreign relations, and I already experienced it there. I was a young woman and sort of trying to navigate those circles, and most of the, let's say, politicians, diplomats, the foreign policy officers were men at that stage. And it was tough. I became very conscious of the fact that when I walk into the room, there are many more layers of me that come into the room before actually people start listening to what I can say and who I am inside. But at that time, I didn't have the right tools to actually figure it out. Yeah. So I remember it impacted me. And I started sort of asking the bigger questions and I guess looking for some support. Also maybe with other women. That has always been a sort of a good space for me to speak to other women who are experiencing something similar.
And generally in Pakistan, when you came here, when you used to go for meetings, you used to meet people, did you ever feel those layers? Did you ever feel that,
sometimes
disrespected? Yeah.
Sometimes. I wouldn't say disrespected. It's actually an interesting aspect. So here's the thing. I have 2 co-founders who are both above 50 and both of them are Pakistani men. So now I come with them for a board meeting, right? Or to meet someone from a corporate sector. I think it's new for the people on the other side who are in 99% men. They are curious, but often I feel that they're not disrespectful, they don't necessarily know how to navigate the situation. So often what I get is that people, and maybe
very like positive of you.
Yeah, I was just thinking whether you're going to tell me that I'm too gentle here, but that was how I read the situation, that it wasn't coming from a place of wanting me to leave me out, but it was more coming from a place of, there's that white foreign woman, what is she doing here? How do I, so let's say eye contact.
Yeah.
That's often a thing that puts me off, right?
Yeah.
When people start sort of you speaking, but they're looking at your
That's
partners.
also culture, right? You're not supposed to. Then that comes from in there. Yeah.
There you go, right? So that's another thing there. But yeah, sometimes it happens that I sort of have to reclaim my space.
My husband and I were also running, Nukta together, and thankfully never faced this. But at my old, organization, I remember once I went into a meeting and with my manager, who was like a male, and this other guy, I was presenting the pitch to him, it was like a partnership, and he wouldn't look at me, and he would just look at him and reply to him like I didn't exist in the room.
I feel it.
And it really hurt me,
I do feel that when I sort of find myself in that situation, what I often think about is how other maybe younger women who are in my shoes, like how they must feel, because I've been sort of blessed with lots of privilege and lots of experience, which I carry with myself. Maybe on a joking side. So I was sort of sharing this experience with my Pakistani friends who are women and founders. And they said, I don't want to listen to you. Like, you carry the white color. Like, if I come
I was just going to say that.
It is true. And, I'm very much aware of it, right? So that makes it sort of, for me, I guess, in a weird way, maybe easier to accept, because I know that my friends are actually have it even much harder.
That's true.
So so I'm sort of trying to figure out what I can do in that situation.
I think generally Pakistanis are very hospitable. They're very respectful towards foreigners anyway. So definitely, I think it's important, like you said, check to it's like, it's important that we kind of check our privilege there. Agreed and aligned, I think. Generally, I think what happens is where you're living or your, the country that you're born in, you're generally more critical about it. Yeah. I mean, Karachi is nice and Pakistan's nice. And I'm sure you're saying the same, right? So is there like something that you've seen that, we generally as Pakistanis really put Pakistan down for, but you think that we need to focus more on the positive aspect of it?
You actually said something that Neem repeats always when he introduces our story. So he's Pakistani originally, born in Karachi, lived for a very long time abroad, and then came back together with me. And he says that the eyes with which I look at Pakistan were completely different. He was always looking at, here's the trash, here's a can, this is not working, the infrastructure is horrible, right? You are stuck. And for me, a lot of these things felt, I think, adventurous again, if that's the right way. Or there was a lot of curiosity and it was new. So I wanted to understand sort of what's behind it. And he said, hey, actually, that's a very fresh sort of outlook to have. The one thing maybe that I would pick is that I think Pakistanis can be much more confident
in themselves.
In themselves. On the history of the country, on the values, everything you have here, the heritage, I mean, the legacy is just amazing.
Pakistanis, I think, generally have a low self-esteem. This is a national issue, and I'm sure you've kind of seen this, especially when it comes to language also, right? And I'm assuming that you saw this. Back home, what language do you guys speak?
We speak Slovak.
Yeah.
Which is a language which speaks 5 million people, so also
and
not
like
that
if
prevalent.
someone cannot speak Slovak, and if someone cannot speak in English over there, I'm sure they're not looked down upon. But that's not the case over here in Pakistan. We're generally very conscious about knowing how to speak in English. The Urdu speakers are looked down upon. Again, that's, comes from like the low self-esteem that we have. Have you noticed that as well?
I have noticed it maybe recently because we have my aunt, so I sort of connected more to the community of parents. And one of the things that I find actually a little bit sad, if I may say, is that a lot of kids in Pakistan, they go to school and they don't speak Urdu.
They don't.
They teach them English. And I was like, why? Like, this is your own language. This is where the history lies in everything about the country. And I think if that can change, it will then sort of stay for a very long time, right? From a generation to generation. But if the sort of current generation or next generation can't speak Urdu, I think that would be really bad for Pakistan, for the region, for the culture, etc.
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate. I mean, when I travel abroad, generally people don't know English and they're okay with that. They say, I speak my language. But in Pakistan, if you don't know English and if you can't speak in English, it's just looked down upon.
Yeah, I think it probably links to the history of also the colonialism and everything, right? So we can cut some slack to Pakistanis in that regard.
Okay, so now moving on from that, what we've done is the team, they've gone out on the roads.
Okay.
Yeah, literally.
Exactly.
And they've spoken to random people and they have told them about you and they've told them to ask you questions.
Okay.
क्या ये वीडियो आपको अच्छी लगी? अभी सब्सक्राइब करें और बेल आइकन पे क्लिक करें।
Okay, so let's start?
Let's do it.
Okay, amazing. Yalla.
The love stories they show in the movies are the truth.
100%. I would always say look for your soulmate.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
How's the way of people living both the sides?
I think it's more similar than we think.
Yeah?
I think we always feel that we are so different here in Pakistan than, let's say, in Slovakia. And I would say it's closer than far away on values and many different things.
Yeah.
So we have our uniqueness, but closer than we think.
हमारा कल्चर आपको कैसा लगा? यहाँ के लोग कैसे लगे? लाइक मीडिया से आप पाकिस्तान के बारे में पूछते आए हैं, तो आपको यहाँ पे एक्सपीरियंस करके क्या मिला?
Yeah, I love that question.
Yeah.
I love that question, especially with the media, right? I mean, it's so different.
Yeah.
It's so different. And it's one of the things that whenever I come back, for instance, when I go from the airport and taxi driver asks me, where are you coming from? I say, Pakistan. They're like, everyone gets like horrified. And I was like, why? Like, and it's the media headlines. Yeah. So unfortunately, very much so. So I tried to sort of destigmatize it a little bit. And to her question, I mean, the experience has been really positive.
Yeah.
So very, very, very different from what the media portrayed. So let's hope that changes. We need more positive stories to get out there.
यहाँ आप क्या कर रहे हैं? सबके बाहर आपको अच्छी वाली सहूलियात हैं यहाँ पे अगर परमानेंट रहने आए तो आप वहाँ अच्छे थे.
I feel like if you live in the comfort in your life, you might maybe wake up one day and feel like I haven't done the most I could with my life.
Yeah.
So living in Pakistan in a way has made me feel sort of alive every day.
And generally, I'm assuming there wasn't a lot of discomfort here as well, right?
Not really. I mean, but if I may, one thing maybe that I would pick, and I really wish that it will change in the future, is the freedom of movement. So that's a big one. I think it impacts the quality of life, the lifestyle, the health of the nation and the people here. So I really hope so. If I could do one thing, I would go for that.
How do you see the Pakistani culture?
Diverse. Diverse.
Yeah.
I think that's another misconception abroad, is that Pakistan is sort of connected with few words, and that's usually with religion, terrorism, and maybe a country far away somewhere in Middle East. And when people come here, they just realize that, wow.
Yeah.
It's so rich in all aspects of it. The people, the nature, the landscape, the culture, the languages,
the food.
ethnicity, the food, all of it.
हम ये पूछेंगे आपको कराची में खाने में क्या अच्छा लगा?
Oh, that's a tough one. I should know all of the foods, but so,
anything that you like.
Jalebi.
Jalebi? Okay.
Yes. I'm very much a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
I know that people will probably say, what did she say? It's not even a proper food.
What is it? Tell me.
So it's rice and chana. Very basic dish. And it's something that I learned from Neem.
The chana is in the rice?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I could go with this.
Chana rice.
Chana rice, I guess. Yeah. I could go with this forever. I'm adjusting to the level of spices. And I think I very much love the variety, but in this regard, I go to the comfort food, and that's like, I could go with rice forever. Chana is beautiful. Any type of beans, I guess. Yeah.
So I think maybe what you're talking about is chana pulao. Is that what they call
possibly,
it?
I think it has a different name, to be very honest. Maybe someone
How do you make it?
That I don't know, because I don't cook it. It's our family that does.
But what is the taste? Is it off-white rice with chana?
It's a white rice, and literally it's chanas in the.
And what do you have with it?
Nadeem will kill me for this.
No, that's okay. What do you have with it? Do you have like achar?
Yes. Chart for sure. Yeah. So it's as basic as that.
Some yogurt?
If you want. But I do remember my Abba, the father-in-law, who was saying that when I entered sort of their home in Lahore and they served this, because it's Nadeem's favorite food also, he was embarrassed. He was saying like, oh, you can't offer this. It's like a basic food. But no, it's one of my favorites.
But is there anything that you ever cooked, like Pakistani food? Anything that you can recall?
This is embarrassing. Probably not.
Yeah,
that's maybe still a milestone to reach.
And so is there any like Slovakian dish that you really like, that you enjoyed cooking, that you think we should learn?
So I'll tell you the most sort of famous or favorite dish, which I also really like, which is dumplings with cottage cheese. We also, because we eat meat and bacon, so we use bacon, but you can substitute this with anything. And it's, again, as simple as that. So the dumplings are made of wheat and or flour and potatoes. And then the cottage cheese, that's one of the ingredients, which is very connected to Slovakia, which is sort of sheep cheese, very fresh ingredient. And then a little bit of the bacon, and you can go for, people would go with this for weeks.
And you
but
boil
it's very
it?
heavy. You boil it, yes. You
okay.
boil it, and then you see even my vocabulary about the cooking is very basic. And then, so we have lassi here in Pakistan. We have, I would say, sort of a very similar drink. We call it differently, kefir. And you drink that with the dumplings. And
How do you make that?
You basically take a normal milk, you sort of let it simmer for a very longer time, and then it goes through its own organic natural process. Sort of similar to yogurt sort of making.
Okay.
Yeah.
How free do you feel?
I do feel free because when I want to go for the walk, I go, right? In that sense, it has many more layers, the question, but if I just take it on the basic side of ability to move freely, do what I want, I have that. But I think it takes much more design and conscious thinking and than, let's say, what I personally used to experience in Europe.
How do you deal with the pressure of security here?
So when I came here, I sort of started living in Islamabad, which felt very safe, and then moved to Karachi, which I never treated as an unsafe place, but so even the conversation came closer to us in terms of our friends, let's say, being mugged or having an experience. But still, I think our resilience and level of resilience is quite high. So I feel safe. I decided to raise my daughter over here. I take her every day to work. So she travels with me in the car. She goes through all that mess and beautiful chaos. So, knock on wood, nothing has happened. But I do know that a lot of people sort of go through that, right?
Yeah.
But I think we've been lucky enough so far to not to have any bad experience.
I think media again plays a role in that. Right?
True.
It's generally how it's been painted, I think. Okay, I think that was fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. I hope
Okay,
you
cool.
guys...
So now with that, Vlad, we're going to move to the last round.
Okay.
No, the last part of this show. It's basically like a quick rapid fire. Yeah. So quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
I'll try.
Okay. No pressure. One thing you still can't figure out about Pakistan.
Urdu.
Okay.
I know, bad.
Karachi's traffic or Slovak weddings?
Oh, Karachi traffic any day.
Really? Mm-hmm. Biggest ick in a meeting?
I think what we talk about when someone doesn't keep eye contact with you when you are actually on the spotlight.
Yeah. Last thing that made you laugh?
My daughter.
Thank you. Karachi heat or the startup pressure? What melts faster?
What melts fast? Oh, the Karachi heat.
Which Urdu word you can't pronounce but keep trying?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one given that
So
my
many?
Urdu is basic. But probably so many. Oof, can't think of any. I hope that's also okay. Answer.
So if Karachi was a relative, who would it be?
A relative. Cousin. Everyone's a cousin here, right?
Yeah.
So,
And Slovakia?
definitely cousin. Slovakia would probably be, but that's for me, it would be a mother.
Yeah, of course, for you, yes. Favorite Pakistani song? Now I'm putting you on the spot.
No, it's good. It's easy. Afrin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but the original.
The original one? Yeah, I was just going to ask you, the original one or the remake?
Yeah, original one.
Okay. Favorite Pakistani dish? We've covered this, but anything else?
Wow. Any dal, naan, again, back to basics.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
any day.
Do you like some achar? Like, do you like some spices with your dal? Or
I
no?
like
Simple?
the char, but simple spice. Because, so our cuisine is based on herbs.
Yeah.
So the spice here, sometimes, especially in Karachi, I feel like sometimes I lose the taste of the food. But good chard with sort of rice or naan, etc. I hope I didn't cannibalize the Pakistani cuisine. Is good.
Yeah.
I can go with it.
Cool. So one thing that you pretend to like but secretly don't?
Sugar coating. I think that's one of the things that happen often here.
Yeah.
And I think we could be much more direct with each other.
True. Brinzove, halushki or biryani with aloo?
Unfortunately, brinzové halušky. Any day.
Really?
And you have to try. Okay.
I'll make it.
You will come to us for dinner. I'll make it for you.
Lovely, amazing. Okay. A day without Wi-Fi, Slovakia feels like peace. Karachi feels like...
I think peace as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. In all that chaos and, rush.
Yeah.
Day without Wi-Fi feels as a relief.
Yeah. I think that was it, yeah?
Thank you so much.
Good. I think good answers.
Enough.
Thank you so much for coming in. I think it means a lot to us. And also for being so positive, about Pakistan. I think, like I said, generally, we as Pakistanis, we're generally very negative, very critical about our own country. The grass it seems to be greener on the other side always. But it's nice to hear someone coming from the outside and, talk positively about our country, our city.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Thank
Yeah.
you. And thank for making it real and sort of genuine. And I very much enjoyed it.
So, when we say we should be real on this show, it's very seldom that we actually have people over who are real. And I think today Vlad was extremely real with us. She showed us the really, really positives of Pakistan. I think it's a country that we underestimate. I think it's a beautiful, diverse country. And there's people like Vlad and, her husband who are building amazing businesses here. And while I understand it's tough and it can get tough, building a business anywhere in the world can get tough, but it's super important to kind of stay grounded, stay positive and just take care of your mental health, like she said, that's super important as a founder as well. With that, thank you so much guys for tuning in. Take care. Apna bahut khayal rakhiyega. Khuda Hafiz.